Hey everyone. In a world full of sprawling open-world games, sometimes you just want a more focused, story-driven experience. That's where linear games really shine. They take you on a journey, guiding you through a tightly crafted narrative without overwhelming you with endless choices. Today, we're diving into some of the best linear games on PC that prove less can definitely be more. Inside is one of those games that, while short, packs an unforgettable punch. You can complete it fairly quickly, but the impact it leaves behind lingers long after the credits roll. The game hooks you with its eerie atmosphere and cryptic storytelling, following a young boy on the run from a mysterious military force and mind-controlled individuals. The whole journey is filled with strange and unsettling discoveries, from parasitic worms to secret labs, all in an environment that feels constantly hostile and oppressive. What makes Inside stand out is how it merges its puzzles with the storytelling. You're not just solving obstacles for the sake of it. Each puzzle feels like it's part of the narrative, pushing you deeper into this unsettling world. Some things become clearer as you progress, but many questions remain, keeping the sense of mystery alive even after you've reached the end. It's the kind of game that leaves you thinking, wanting to dive back in just to piece together all the hidden details and meanings you might have missed on your first run. What really sets this game apart, though, is its ability to provoke thought without ever explicitly telling you what's happening. You feel a constant sense of unease as you move through the world. And it's that subtlety that makes Inside so memorable. Whether it's the minimalistic visuals, the haunting sound design, or the almost wordless narrative, everything about Inside contributes to an experience that sticks with you, making it perfect for players who love games that are as much about the journey as they are about the destination. The Wolf Among Us is one of Telltale's standout titles, and it holds a special place for many fans of narrative-driven games. Similar to their hit The Walking Dead, this game draws heavily from a comic book series, in this case, the Fables series. The premise is that fairy tale characters known as Fables have been driven out of their magical world by a dark force and now live in a hidden community within the human world called Fabletown. You play as Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf turned sheriff, tasked with keeping the peace and solving crimes in this secret society. The game's plot kicks off with a murder that shakes the entire community, forcing Bigby to dig deep into the hidden lives of Fabletown's residents to uncover the truth. Along the way, your choices shape Bigby's relationships and reputation. And while the game offers slight variations in the ending based on your decisions, it remains a mostly linear experience, focusing on storytelling over gameplay freedom. What's particularly engaging about The Wolf Among Us is its unique art style, which feels like a living, breathing comic book, and its moody, noir atmosphere. The game excels at making you feel immersed in this gritty world where fairy tale characters struggle with real-world problems. The character development is also top-notch, especially the complex relationship between Bigby and Snow White, adding depth and emotional stakes to your investigation. It's a game that may not give you vast choices, but it will keep you hooked with its rich story and atmosphere. Ryse Son of Rome first came out on Xbox and later made its way to PC, and it's a game that knows how to blend brutal combat with cinematic storytelling. The fighting mechanics are fast-paced and remind me a lot of the Arkham series, where button combos, parries, and finishing moves are key to surviving the relentless enemy waves. Every slash and block feels impactful, and the execution moves are both satisfying and stylish, giving you that real sense of being a skilled Roman soldier. The story centers around Marius Titus, a Roman general driven by revenge after the brutal murder of his family. It takes you through his personal journey as he battles not just external enemies, but the corruption within Rome itself. What starts as a tale of vengeance turns into something more complex as Marius uncovers deeper betrayals and conspiracies. You'll find yourself invested in his fight for justice, not just for his family, but for Rome. What makes Ryse Son of Rome stand out is how it fuses its linear gameplay with its epic storytelling and intense combat. The game doesn't have a lot of side quests or distractions. Instead, it focuses on delivering a tight, engaging experience from start to finish. While the gameplay is somewhat repetitive, the atmosphere, the setting, and the emotional stakes in the story make it a memorable ride for anyone who enjoys cinematic action games. Half-Life 2 doesn't hold your hand when it comes to figuring out what to do next. Instead, it relies on environmental cues and context to guide you. Despite this, the game follows a linear structure from beginning to end. What makes Half-Life 2 stand out is the constant feeling of momentum. You're always moving forward, even if you take a moment to appreciate the detailed environments around you. The tension is relentless, with enemies and the unfolding story pushing you deeper into the heart of combined territory. Whether it's your allies or your enemies, you're constantly being pursued, and that sense of being on the run adds to the intensity of the experience. On top of that, Half-Life 2 nails the balance between exploration and narrative progression. While the game is linear, the world feels alive and immersive, filled with little details that make it feel larger than it actually is. The physics-based puzzles add a layer of engagement, forcing you to think on your feet without pulling you away from the fast-paced action. It's a game that constantly challenges you, not just with its combat, but with the way it seamlessly blends storytelling, world-building, and gameplay into one unforgettable journey. Spec Ops The Line isn't your typical military shooter. It's one of the rare games that forces you to stop and really ask yourself, am I the bad guy here? At first glance, it feels like your standard run-and-gun action with plenty of enemy soldiers to shoot down. But as you progress, the game starts to hit you hard with the consequences of your actions, making you rethink everything you've been doing. It's almost as if the game is using the military setting to draw parallels with real-life experiences, pushing you to reflect on what war really means and how we often view it through a distorted lens in gaming. Unlike many of today's popular shooters like Call of Duty, Spec Ops The Line doesn't rely on open-world exploration or flashy multiplayer modes to keep you entertained. Instead, it focuses on delivering a tightly controlled narrative experience. You're placed in the shoes of what seems to be an action hero at first, but as the story unfolds, you'll be left with a lot more questions than answers once the credits roll. It's not a game you walk away from easily. It lingers with you, making you think long after you've logged off. What really sets Spec Ops apart is how it challenges the player morally and emotionally. You're not just mindlessly pulling the trigger. Every decision you make has weight. It's one of those rare games that makes you question your role, your choices, and even the medium of video games as a whole. If you're looking for a linear game that's both gripping and thought-provoking, this one should definitely be on your list. Alan Wake Remastered is a great example of how the writer-protagonist trope can be done right. While it's often advised to steer clear of making your main character a writer, this game shows how it can really add depth to the story. Even though the game follows a linear path, what keeps you hooked is its gripping narrative. You play as Alan Wake, a writer searching for his missing wife in the mysterious town of Bright Falls. Things get strange quickly, as the stories Alan wrote start coming to life in terrifying ways. The game is divided into episodes, almost like a TV show, and each one takes you deeper into the unsettling mysteries surrounding the town. The further you go, the more you start uncovering dark secrets, both about Bright Falls and Alan himself, that might be better left buried. What makes Alan Wake Remastered stand out isn't just the story, but also how it plays with psychological horror. It constantly blurs the lines between fiction and reality, leaving you questioning what's real. This layered approach to storytelling, paired with the game's eerie atmosphere and tense gameplay, makes it a must-play for fans of narrative-driven games. The Last of Us Part 1 is one of those PlayStation gems that finally made its way to PC, and it's every bit as gripping as when it first launched. The story is focused on Joel's journey across a post-apocalyptic, clicker-infested America, where his main goal is to protect Ellie and deliver her safely to a Firefly outpost. From start to finish, the game sticks to a linear path, which works perfectly for the narrative-driven experience it offers. Though the overall journey is quite direct, there are still moments where you can approach situations in different ways. Whether you choose to go in guns blazing or sneak around using bottles and other distractions, it's up to you. The crafting system also adds an extra layer of tension, as you're constantly forced to make tough decisions. Should you use your limited supplies to craft a medkit, or would a Molotov be more useful in the next fight? The scarcity of resources makes every choice feel meaningful. What really sets The Last of Us Part 1 apart is its emotional storytelling and world building. The linearity serves the plot well, keeping you immersed in Joel and Ellie's relationship as it evolves through the game. The narrative is tightly woven, and every chapter feels like a carefully crafted piece of a larger emotional puzzle. This blend of story, survival, and intense action is what makes The Last of Us more than just a game. It's an experience that stays with you long after the credits roll. Halo Combat Evolved is a prime example of a linear shooter that keeps you fully engaged from start to finish. You're always moving forward, progressing through the narrative without the distractions of an open world, which makes the story feel tight and focused. Even today, its gunplay remains top-notch, offering a balance of satisfying combat and tactical decision-making. One of the standout features is the vehicle gameplay, which adds a dynamic layer to the combat. Driving around in the Warthog or piloting a Banshee brings some of the most memorable moments in the game. Coupled with its legendary soundtrack, the atmosphere in Halo is incredibly immersive, pulling you deeper into its universe. While it's mostly a linear experience, the twist comes when you're forced to retrace your steps in reverse. This shift is like being on a roller coaster that suddenly goes backward. It's unexpected and thrilling, keeping you on your toes just when you think you've got the game figured out. Halo's success isn't just in its action sequences, but also in its ability to create a sense of scale. The epic battles and diverse alien landscapes feel monumental, even in the confines of a linear path. For anyone who hasn't played Halo before, it's an iconic journey worth experiencing firsthand.